What's going on, guys? It's Thomas at Forge Sports Media. Let's talk about this Copenhagen Open Par 6 situation. So if we go and look at the caddy book right here, we'll see that the FPO field plays a 1,073-foot Par 6. What a unique circumstance. The MPO plays a 5. Let's look at this hole rotated right here. So on the right-hand side of this graphic now, we've got the tee that goes out of this little section of woods, shoots directly out into a landing zone, over the out of bounds, a little bit closer to the hole, past a few trees. If we're playing it as a par 6, you would think that your fourth shot would be a longer approach shot maybe. Maybe it is just a little bit shorter into the basket area that is covered by a variety of trees and then potentially in for a birdie. Now, it's fun to look at this graphic, but let's go watch Katie Alsulu play this hole during the Copenhagen Open. So this will be round 3 footage that we're looking at right here. Katie throws out into this landing zone area. Again, that shows the trees that you throw out of. It's not super wooded. She comes up here for a second shot. She's going to throw over this segment of out of bounds. Very solid shot. She's definitely got some distance on her. It's going to land back here pretty much in the middle of the fairway. Her third shot, she's going to pump it straight off to the right-hand side, and she's going to try to go ahead and get into this woodsy area so that her fourth approach shot towards the basket will be a lot easier. So you see the basket not that far from her right here. She's going to throw maybe a slight Anheuser putt. It's going to go right here by the basket, and you're pretty much right inside or right on the bullseye. And then she's going to take her fifth stroke for birdie right here on this par 6. So it's a unique circumstance, but the pdga actually does have guidelines that they use to denote the different types of tee locations that you might go from towards the same basket. Gold being the MPO section, 1,000 rated plus, white being the general FPO area, 900 plus depending on who you are. And then alongside that graphic, there's a secondary that goes and takes each of those tee locations, or colors in this case, compares them to heavy and light foliage, and then gives different distances that denote what generally a par should be. Now, again, this is a little subjective, heavy and light foliage, what specifically constitutes that. In our case, we're looking at the white tees, and we're talking about par in between 5 and 6 maybe. If you look at the light foliage section, and we look at 1,000 feet, the 1,100 area starts the par 6. I would say that this is probably more of a light foliage area. You could say it maybe plays in between a little bit. I think that would be pushing it. I think it should just be a very long par 5. Now, you could definitely look at how did this hole play to par. The best round that it had was round 1, and it averaged 5.97, so 0.03 under par. That's a relatively good average overall. So I don't think it's terrible, but the other thing to keep in mind is that the field that was playing this was definitely lower than a traditional elite series. In this case, you've got 4 players that are above 945. At the Dynamic Discs Open just a week prior, you've got, I think this is 16 or 17 players above that mark, and it just adds up very quickly as you go further down this line. The field at the Copenhagen Open was not as competitive. And so I think if we look back at these stats with a field the strength of the Dynamic Discs Open, you would see that playing lower versus par. So I don't believe that a par 6 was necessary right here. But again, it's a game of strokes at the end of the day. Par is effectively arbitrary. There's no reason that it specifically matters other than to decide on course management. Do I want to have a longer hole here? Do I want to cut off part of this hole and allow another hole to be longer? I'm a fan of seeing disc golf push towards being par 72, pay homage to the sport that we're derived from in golf. I like golf, and I know that at times there can be a little bit of a clash between golf and disc golf. In my case, I think they should be sports that work together. We get to see disc golf played on golf courses. It would be fun to play par 72 courses. And if the Copenhagen Open doesn't have the opportunity to be a par 72, why do you have a par 6? It just seems ridiculous a little bit. So I believe that the Copenhagen Open should not have it as a par 6, should have the women play from a slightly closer tee pad. Let me know your thoughts. You might think completely differently. You might like the idea of a par 6. You might want something that's a little bit more odd, niche, unique, whatever it be. Drop your thoughts. I want to know. I'm genuinely curious, and I like this discussion being drawn up. So if you like this type of content, you want to see more breakdowns like this in the future, definitely make sure to like our video and subscribe to the channel. We would appreciate it more than you know.